Right, we get to wind up the week right now. It is the 3rd of April, 2024. This is May, actually. I'm still in April. I'm telling you, time really is running by. I'm glad that you've joined us this morning. Of course, I trust that you had a lovely restorative night and you're ready for the day. Make sure you take care regarding, of course, the floods that are ongoing right now. People are adversely affected by that. But outlook of how the weather will be today for you to also plan out your day. The press this morning, Ruto plays by the rules in KDF changes. This is what is on the front page of the Standard today. Change of guard. 14 days after misfortune struck ending the life of General Francis Ogola in a helicopter crash, Kenya now has a new chief of defense forces, General Charles Kahariri, and a host of other new military bosses, including the first ever female service commander in the Defense Forces history. And you have the story on page 2 and 3 of the Standard today. And you can see him also taking up of office there, Major General Fatuma Ahmed as well, the new Kenya Air Force commander, and now the new KDF. Also, Cabinet says schools must open Monday. The Cabinet had a meeting on floods disaster directs Education Ministry to work with constituency funds to repair destroyed infrastructure. You have a story on page 8 of Standard today. DRC gold puzzle as Interpol joins KQ staff arrest probes. Days after Kenya Airways suspended flights to Kinshasa to protest at the detention of its employees, Foreign Affairs Ministry team has been dispatched to DRC capital. You have a story on page 12 of the Standard. Impeachment. MPs hold Linturi's feet to the fire. The fate of Agriculture's Cabinet Secretary, Linturi, now lies in the hands of 11 members of a select House team after the full sitting of Parliament voted in favor of a motion to impeach him. And this story is on page 4 of the Standard this morning. Also remember, there is a Pulse magazine that comes in handy for you every Friday to get all matters juicy on entertainment and, of course, on social media gossip as well. Humanitarian crisis looms as homes marooned, roads cut off, and you can see the devastation there, the traffic Snalap, this is the main Nakuru Eldoret Highway, which was closed at Timboroa yesterday following a directive by Kenha. After a section of a road collapsed following heavy rains, police had a hectic time diverting traffic, and you can read the rest of the story on page 6 and 7 of the Standard today. This is our looks. Let's see what the Daily Nation is holding. Change of guard, that is the splash. Kenya Navy also gets a new commander in President Ruto's third military changes. It's all about transition. That is what the flag is reading, and you can see the appointment there. Lieutenant General John Omenda, Vice Chief of Defense Forces. Major General Fatuma Ahmed, Commander Kenya Air Force. We have Major General Paul Otieno, Commander Kenya Navy, and Lieutenant General David Tarus, Commander Kenya Army. Historic. President William Ruto yesterday adhered to the Tonje rules when he promoted Lieutenant General Charles Kahariri to General and Chief of Defense Forces in changes necessitated by last month's death of General Francis Ogola in a tragic helicopter crash. And in a break from the past, the President also appointed the first woman service commander. You have the story on page 6 and 7 of the Daily Nation. On the highway transport, 64 Matatu SACCOs lose NTSA licenses. In a circular released yesterday, the transport regulator has advised the public not to use vehicles belonging to the affected SACCOs and firms. That is on page 10. And also, there is a report there, TikTok make gains, but WhatsApp leads. WhatsApp is the most preferred social media application by Kenyans, even as video sharing platform TikTok registered a double increase in the number of users. You can find the greater details there on page 9 of the Daily Nation. County cash. MPs, senators to clash. Legislators in the upper house are demanding 415.9 billion shillings to be allocated to the devolved units against the 391.1 billion shillings approved by the National Assembly for the financial year ending June 2025. All that tucked away on the back page of today's Daily Nation. You can grab a copy for yourself. And the star is up next. Biden elevates Ruto in Africa charm offensive. Historic. President could address Congress becoming the second in Africa. Biden administration courts Kenya as diplomatic competition with China intensifies. And you can follow the story on page 6 of the Star today. President Ruto makes changes in the military, and you can see related pictures as well there on the front page of the Star. Court releases mentally ill man jailed for 35 years. The High Court in Eldoret has set free a man who was jailed for murder 35 years ago while he was mentally ill. Justice Ruben Nyakundi freed Philip Bor, who was jailed in 1989 when he was aged just 18. Bor, now 54, was freed under reliefs in the constitution that protect his right. Also, projects Ruto wants to fund with 272 billion shillings. Major infrastructure projects top the list of initiatives President William Ruto intends to fund with 272.7 billion shillings new loans. The projects account for more than half of the 514 billion shillings that the government plans to borrow to bridge next year's budget fall. That is the budget shortfall. You have the story on page 4 and 5 of the Star. Heavy rains to persist as more people go missing. Forecasters say rains that led to the deaths of 188 Kenyans will continue this weekend. The Met Department warned Kenyans to take caution as the predicted rains could bring more flooding to already soaked parts of the country. You have a story on page 10 of the Star this morning. Let's see also what we have on top there. We have the Siasa Pullout magazine as well that comes in handy for you. Rains, it says it rains innocent. We are guilty of ineptitude and ignorance. As Ruto, or it says this is what actually is on the front page of the Siasa. Has Ruto cabinet performed? That's a probing question. Why Ruto settle on Kahariri? Defense Council has suggested that next KDF be appointed from the Air Force, as the late General Ogola didn't finish his term, but the service had no officer of the rank of Lieutenant General. And you have the story on page 7. According to the KDF Act, the President may remove, retire, or deploy the Chief of Defense Forces, the Vice Chair, or the Vice Chief of the Defense Forces, or any of the service commanders. And you can follow the story inside the People Daily today. Linturi on the cross as MPs kick off impeachment trial. A person holding the position of CS is not a small person. A CS is a member of the cabinet. A motion of impeachment is the tool of last resort. You have a story there inside the People Daily. This is what Wandai was saying. You can follow it on page 5 of the People Daily today. Also discuss salary deals with counties striking doctors now told. That is the story you can follow on page 2 of the People Daily today. Taifa Leo. Up next, Linturi apata or if you like. Mtepetevu, waziri wa kilimo, amekashifiwa vikali kutokana na uuzaji wa mbolea feki kwa wakulima waliotaka fertilizer ya ruzuku. Kindiki akiibuka bingwa tena kwa kuzoa alama ya B kwa mujibu wa Tifa Research. You can follow that story on page 2. And that was the score of the cabinet secretary who is facing impeachment. And you can see the rest of the details also tucked away on page 2 of Taifa Leo this morning. Kariri aridhi kiti cha Ogola. That is on page 2. Kura ya UDA kurudiwa maeneo 528. And you have a story continuing on page 4 of the publication today. Let's buckle down to some business. Kenya taps Israel or Israeli loan for upgrade of air defense. Israeli firm to supply high-tech anti-missile system. Upgrade comes amid heightened security concerns. You can follow the story on page 2 of the Business Daily today. Linturi faces impeachment trial. That is on page 2 as well of the Business Daily. Airtel gets 22 billion shillings IFC funding for DRC, Rwanda, Kenya units. And KCB given green light to take over Pinewood Beach Resort. All that on page 8 of the Business Daily. Standard dividend yields rises to 17%. Standard Chartered Bank yesterday dividend. Standard Chartered Bank Kenya's dividend yield has grown to 17% as most bank share prices fall after the close of books for final dividend. You have the story on page 8 of the Business Daily today. Let's see what is happening in Uganda census. Ugandans to answer 180 questions. It's all about taking stock. Babies born on or after May the 10th will not be counted in the census, running for 10 days from next Friday, during which enumerators will seek information on a household's income, savings, and assets, as well as debts and VATs. You have a story on page 4 and 5. So if you're still here in the country, make sure you are in Uganda to be counted. That will be a head count that will be happening there. Also, excitement greets return of passenger train. And you can see the Uganda Railway Corporation has resumed commuter transport between Kampala and Namandve, Wakiso district, after a year of closure for rehabilitation. Upon resumption, the fares have doubled from 1,000 to 2,000. For a one-way trip. EuroC says it intends to extend the passenger service to Mukono before the end of this year. The train makes 4 steps at Makerere University Business School, Spear Motors at Nakawa, Kireka, and Nabaole before terminating at the Kazinga station in Namambe. You can follow the story inside the Daily Monitor today. Also, Press Freedom Day, why female journalists leave newsrooms on Newsroom Alley. Follow the story on page 12. Media freedom safeguards and the freedoms. Remember, yesterday, the world was observing the World Press Freedom Day. You can follow the story inside the Daily Monitor. Government in fresh move to curb sugar prices spikes. This is what is happening in Tanzania. New measures include giving the National Food Reserve Agency the authority to buy and store sugar. Agriculture Minister Hussein Bashe told Parliament yesterday 10,000, that's a price in shillings of a kilogram of sugar in some areas when retail prices rose sharply earlier in the year, according to Agriculture Minister Hussein Bashe. This is according to the Tanzanian shillings there, and we have Hussein Bashe saying, quote unquote, this step aims at eliminating hoarding by some factory owners without compromising the government's commitment to protecting domestic industries. You can follow the story inside the publication. Why cashew harvests have sold 61%. Cashew nut production in Tanzania has risen to 305 and 14 tons in the 2023-2024 season, up from 114 tons in 2022-2023, with the increase being attributed to the provision of subsidized agricultural inputs, whose value doubled to 188.99 billion shillings in the 2023-2024 season. Right, so things are looking up. If you're a farmer there who is trading on cashew nuts, the skies is a limit. Decision on preterm babies draw positive response, and this is on page 2 of the publication today. All right, let's see what is happening in Rwanda. Is a proposed East African single currency a pipe dream? That is the probing question on the front page of the publication today. An East African currency remains a dream in the minds of many and only a plan in shelved papers. You have a story on page 3 of the New Times. And also Development Partners Retreat kicks off in Rubavu. You can see some of them there. UN Resident Coordinator in Rwanda, Ozonia Ogiello. And we have also FAO representative. So that is a Food Agriculture Organization representative to Rwanda. That is Kumba Dieng So, and Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Dr. Uziel Ndagijimana, during the opening session of a 20th Development Partners Retreat in Rubavu District on Thursday. The two-day meeting themed Thinking and Working Together Towards NST2 is reflecting on key achievements of the National Strategy of Transformation. You can follow all that inside the publication today, where farmers struggle with high cost of pig poultry feed. And that story is tucked away on page 2. A closer look at practices, challenges of waste management as well is in the publication today. All right, World Press Freedom Day was yesterday, and you can see this is where it is right now. Right, the fingers pointing to the journalists as well. Is this the accusatory fingers? I'll leave it for you to decipher. This is what Victor has drawn today. Also, is this fire fake or real? All right, this is Linturi impeachment. It's all about a fake fertilizer scandal as well, who is facing impeachment in Parliament right now. We'll give you the gritty details in the program much later. Also, remember to pick up or to scan the publication. That is South Sudan auditor queries use of IMF bailout cash. Audit report cites irregularities in award of tenders, taxation of government contractors, and accounting issues around $114 million emergency fund. This has been the publication this week. You can grab a copy for that as well. And also, this week, the Newsweek is all about the unstoppable Narendra Modi. How Narendra Modi is changing India and the world. You want to get all the wires as far as the publication is concerned, get all the details as well. And also, The Economist has been focusing on India. How strong is India's economy? There's a special report there. You can grab a copy as well to get all these gritty details. And this has been the week for the week. Ready for takeoff. The Rwanda bill finally passes, and we'll be having the first batch of the asylum seekers there being deployed to Rwanda this month. This is how the publication is looking. All right. All right, let me just take you back to Standard where it is right now. This is a publication there. Ruto plays by the rules in KDF changes. That is the splash today. Our guests are already here. We have a full packed house. We have with us Kipruto Rapkirwa, who is a governance and policy analyst. We have as well with us Dr. Martin Olo, advocate of the High Court and also head of the Department School of Law, Daystar University. We're joined also by Professor Gitela Naituli, who is a governance and policy analyst, also a professor at Multimedia University. And we're joined by Dr. Barak Muluka, strategic communication advisor. And we have a full packed show as well. Good to see you guys. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Good. I'm glad that...
Yeah, you can see my table is well laid for you this morning.
You're getting better and better.
Getting better and better. It's a full breakfast show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not just breakfast show by name.
No.
It is breakfast show, right?
The viewers have no idea what we have before us.
It's good to see also Kipruto Rapkirwa, because I know by the time we were speaking, he was in Eldoret. right? And I was a bit worried because the rains are here. Some of the roads are impassable. Will you really make it? All right. And yes, good to see you. So what really happened? How is Eldoret? We can begin with you. Tell us.
Eldoret is fine. Kitale is even better because we have rain, but not so much as whatever is in Uasin Gishu and other parts of Kenya. And as we talked yesterday, I was trying to cross the Eldoret town, only to be stopped at Timboroa. Because the road was almost caving in just next to the Timboroa police station. So I had to go back all the way to Eldoret to reroute now myself through Eldama Ravine to Nairobi. I got here by midnight. And it was midnight? Okay. Yes, because I thought I should not miss the show for 3 consecutive weeks. I would have actually done disservice to myself and the rest of the country. Because I think this show, in my own opinion, is very useful because you're able to distill issues which other people gloss over.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Right, fine. Thank you. All right, let's hear from Gitala Naituli as well. I was worried about him that he'll be marooned in Kajiado. Yeah, that has been also the epicenter of the floods as well. Yes. How is it, by the way, on the ground? You've not been affected?
No. I'm in Linturi Betaya, and there also you can use different routes. You can use Gitangela or you can use Gisiri and Road to through.
Or you can be airborne, you know, with your helipad on in your compound. You just lift off. This is what he's not telling us.
So it's the road is not that bad.
Okay. All right.
But you need to avoid the Tangela, though you can get into issues very quickly there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where exactly? So that at least...
No, I don't know. But when I look at the TV, actually I've not had any experience through this rain, no. But when I look at the television, there was a time I saw water all over that place. And so...
It was reported that this tunnel, as you turn to enter Kitengela, as a bit of a problem. I don't know how true that one is, which means now Professor has to look for alternative route to get back to his place.
Right. And Martin, I know from the suburbs, the roads have been eroded as well, so I don't know how you made it here today.
No, I think things are... there is the best of times and the worst of times, and sometimes the blessings of rain also visit with us some not very easy times. So I know that those of us who are a little bit on the lower plains, whether you're looking at Kisaju, you're looking at Athi River, and generally the lower parts of Kajiado are experiencing, especially flash floods coming in from the hilly areas. And that is what's affecting us. Obviously, there is a very, very obvious indictment on us as a people in terms of disaster preparedness and our own forward thinking. Because when you see what is happening in the Mara and you see generally what's happening in those camps and so on, it just tells you that the public side of policy that helps development is our problem. The private side seems to be okay. People are investing. People are looking for opportunities, whether it's housing, whether it's hotel business and so on. But then the public side of support to people's investments is what is wanting. So the moment people have settled, for example, in Syokimau, what is government doing to help ensure the drainage and water passage and whatnot are things that can be controlled. Look at the Greenyard estate in Athi River. Perennial problem. As soon as you have allowed a developer to encroach or to put an investment around a place like what we are seeing in Athi River, then as government or as public entities, we then have to do everything that will then safeguard that investment. So whether it's tunneling, whether it's channeling water to wherever it should go, that's what we need to see. So this morning we are happy to be awake and happy to be alive, and very, very, very sad that Kenyans are losing their lives in their innocence. I mean, people were asleep this week, they never woke up, We were picking up their bodies from down rivers and assets and property washed off. Perhaps time for us to be supportive and perhaps to reach out. Those of us who are a bit able to reach out. I know that Barak has a few shirts and a few trousers that he does not use in the house. The time to donate them is now.
Yeah, Barak.
Now I know about my missing clothes. They should be in my body.
They're already given out before you gave out. Well, good to see you, Barak. Good morning. How are you?
Morning. Good to see you all.
People of Emulinya, they're fine. Emmanuelia, yes. They've not been affected.
I've not been for a while, but my mother tells me it is fine for the time being. I have the privilege of coming here only from Westlands, Nairobi. So in a sense, we are the privileged lot because you get on the expressway and it's 5 minutes to...
If it's not flooded.
To here. My portion of the expressway is not flooded.
It floods the road down there.
It floods the road down, and that speaks to the systemic challenges. I think there are issues that we are witnessing are an accumulation of systemic challenges over the years, which does not mean that the current government has got any excuse for the current state of things. But these are systemic challenges over the years. Our bad construction practices, failure to observe policy. The policies are there, the regulations are there. We have not followed them. It's an indictment against the regulatory authorities in the country by and large, because some of the things that we are talking about belong to the docket of what were traditionally the local authorities. They should have taken that into account. The mother ministry of local government in those past days, which should have ensured that the local authorities were doing what they are supposed to be doing. Some of them belong today to devolved government, and certainly a lot of them belong to the national government under various dockets, whether it's environment, whether it is water, whether it is transport and communications. And so it is a cocktail of perennial systemic failure. And the chickens are coming home to roost. We knew last year that the floods were coming. In some places like Ebudalangi and in places like Ahero, Nyando, we know that even next year there will be floods. And there's nothing that we are doing about it. The big tragedy, multiple tragedy, is that after the floods have gone, we will have drought.
Exactly.
And we will be complaining that there is drought.
And before drought, we'll have epidemic.
We will have possibly epidemics. The other one is that in the midst of all this, all these waters everywhere in Nairobi, we are still seeing water bowsers reading clean water. We are still seeing people with the cats, mkokoteni.
The taps are still running dry.
The taps are still dry. And this resource, this very rich resource that people long for elsewhere, has become a curse. We are looking at the waters and we are saying how soon we wish they would flow away and leave us peace, the peace of drought.
Actually, weakness, big weakness, lack of knowledge in water harvesting. Okay? If most of all these buildings are collecting that water and storing it in tanks, which is what I do, by the way, I'm not just talking now. In Aguru, I have a 240,000 liter tank. underground.
That's a private solution to a public problem.
It's exactly, but it's okay.
And that is
So here
We have no problem with you. What we are saying at public level.
No, we need to harvest water. We need to get. Australia is the driest continent on the planet. You don't hear them having all these problems we have. Okay, because every drop that falls somewhere there is collected. Okay, so we are not just lazy in protecting our people by building dams and collecting this water, but we are also lazy privately.
Yeah.
Okay,
the responsibility belongs to the institution that is called government.
Yes.
The institution that collects our taxes to undertake various duties and responsibilities. And the reason government exists is especially because of times such as now.
Exactly.
When government should be seen. Surprisingly, government has been conspicuously absent.
Yes.
That all the rescue efforts that we have been seeing are efforts that are coming from the citizens themselves, wherever they may be. Dr. Olo, that we are having the individuals, the citizens helping each other, the citizens looking for their relatives, for dead bodies. We are not seeing the entity called government. Government is sleeping on the job.
But KDF has been deployed, in Mai Hill.
Too little, too late.
What is they deployed in Mai Hill?
Yeah, sorry?
Too little, too
See,
late.
the government, the moment this disaster hit, they needed to have called out the military.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what they should have
They
done.
need to
The
have
Navy,
anticipated.
they should have anticipated.
When they were actually, Met Department were given these predictions, yeah? So
No,
everything,
when the disaster hit and they realized this is not normal.
even before when they hit.
Even before.
Yes, that's what
Even
I'm saying.
before they should have been prepared.
Because we were told last year, and we had government from the highest quarters telling us that there would be no El Nino, there would be no floods, that we would have just slightly
So they are depraved.
above normal rains, and we dropped our guard.
I wanted to tell Professor that we have no problem with the knowledge in water harvesting. As a matter of fact, this country has the National Water Harvesting Authority.
In fact, that's what I was coming
Yes,
to.
What does that
no, wait.
Yes.
So the point is that this authority, when you go to if you go to their
Up there,
website,
actually.
you see the kind of mega projects they're having. One of their purposes, let me tell you, is flood mitigation.
No.
We've not even had from
enhancing
them,
water
actually.
security, flood mitigation, and storage of for multi-purpose use. In other words, we are not lacking in ideas and in authority.
So this is what they're saying, who we are. The Water Act number 43 of 2016 came into effect on 21st April 2017, and therein established the National Water Harvesting and Storage
So how
Authority.
many Kenyans know even if they exist?
Our mandate is to undertake on behalf of the national government the development of national public water works it continues here. Yeah, but then it says develop and manage develop and manage. Just give it a minute, it is loading up
National
here.
Water Works.
National Water Works, you're there.
Infrastructure.
Yeah. Develop and manage national water works infrastructure towards enhancing water security, flood mitigation, and storage of multi-purpose uses. And they have a lot of projects here. Completed dams project, Chemosusu Dam. We've not been given an up to there. Kiserian Dam is there. Maruba Dam, it looks like it's under construction. We have Nakutum Peace Dam as well. So yes, there's a National Harvesting Authority that we've not heard from.
No, you see now the irony.
They should have told us how much we've harvested so much. This is the tons of or the liters of waters from different particular dams in the country.
But also, I think this country needs the equivalent of FEMA in America. You see, we as the government is set aside in billions. Who is managing this money? The law also requires that the counties, they reserve 0.2% of their budget for disaster preparedness. So we need an agency where this money is actually put so that the money can stop being managed by everyone. You see, when everybody is responsible, usually no one is responsible.
All right. Let's hear from Kipruto Rapiro.
Yeah, what worries me, Dibal, is our state of preparedness and the response that we have undertaken for the last couple of weeks. Compared to 63 years ago, in 1961, there was a similar flood. We are able to see it. Some of us who are old enough were able to witness, but of course we did not understand globally what it was. And the entire force was mobilized, the entire military and other agencies of government. And the reportage that you can see from the footnotes or from the archives of the response in 1961 was different from what we are seeing today. Yes. Today we are seeing fatalities being reported. At that particular time we were seeing what the response mechanisms were, what they had achieved, the area underwater, and what mitigation measures had been undertaken. This therefore means this information is with us. We don't lack the information, we don't lack the experience, but we lack the need to take action. Now, action for me means in three ways. The road maintenance, like the one of mine yesterday at Timboroa, they must have been able to detect that there was some kind of weakness on that particular section of the road, and therefore do serious maintenance before it gets to the fact that we were told the ground is about to sink and anybody crossing this road is doing it at his own risk. Number two, you would have expected quick response from the military, because military can do a bridge with metal bars.
Bridges.
Yes, within even 8 hours. But you see, people are left now to go back, either back to Western and reroute themselves through Kericho or other parts of the country. Some of us, we went to Eldoret and came back. The other issue which we need to look at is the land use. The last time we knew, and even now, there's still rules about riparian. So that if you are close to the river, there is a section of the river that you cannot dedicate to any other use other than vegetation cover. Today, that is where people plant vegetables. And therefore, the plants which are supposed to check water flow have not been removed, like bamboo and other plants that are supposed to sift water and reduce it, check it in terms of flow. They have been removed because that would assist to reduce the speed and to maintain some of the water so that seepage continues throughout the year, and therefore there is a microclimate of a kind. But today that place is open, and when water comes, all the vegetables are swept away, and in the process people are swept away. And the third issue is the need for us to be vigilant, because we allow people to get all the way to the waterway. And therefore those people, we are not saying they should be condemned, but we allow them to be there, to build houses just above the riverbed. And when the water comes, it sweeps them, because the water is claiming its own regime. And therefore it is we who are encroaching onto the water path. It is not the water coming to our homes. It is we who are building our homes where the water ought to be domiciled in that particular place. And finally, in my own little assessment, is that government response is more of talk show than action on the ground. We should be able today to mobilize the entire military and all, even the National Youth Service, to make sure they go to places which are affected. And from now henceforth, we maintain strictly the rules, because this riparian thing was not done for beautification. It was done because it has serious functions. Look at the one in Maimayu. It swept the whole place, and families were lost. People saw their children and their spouses being carried away by water. What a sight.
Should we also be looking at the issue of the building codes? Because that has been also a biggest debate, especially in where people have been raising hesitations regarding the skyscrapers that are coming up, the apartments. And we know maybe from the historic times, during the colonization, I don't know, we still have the same Nairobi master plan as it is. We've had people calling from also Karen, because of skyscrapers which are now coming up. And I don't know, the drainage system is still the same. We've not really upgraded the Nairobi master plan from the last time I checked, unless maybe I'm behind news. Barack, you can tell us, or
you know, approvals.
Yes, approvals.
Just to say a bit, because I'm not a specialist in that particular field, approvals ought to be done in some kind of consortium where structural engineers, soil specialists are able to say how much weight can be carried at this particular place without causing a bit of instability on the local conditions. So some of the buildings are hung dangerously on areas where the weight of the building, once there is a bit of water, the building is taken away. The building will move. You find that some of the homes move into the riverbed just because they were hanging on a very weak ground. And if it was one story, not even one story, a single storied, or what do you call it?
It's actually one story in dwelling.
Yeah.
It's actually one story in dwelling.
Yes, it will not. But once you do 3, 4
sort of a bungalow.
Yeah, bungalow. Once you do 4, 5, then now you exert weight, and you see the soil when it is wet does two things. It exerts weight vertically and also horizontally. So the way that it exerts horizontally will allow the building to move horizontally and therefore block the waterway, and the people inside the house are swept away by the water. That's the much I know. Yeah.
Geologists actually, when they had the summits, I think the beginning of this year, they were warning that, you know, even with a lot of the water boreholes that we're sinking, that also is in a way compromising, you know, the tectonic plates, so to speak, of the Nairobi region, right? That they are not being consulted on this, but we are sinking boreholes every which way in every estate. You wake up one morning, people are drilling. So what does that really also portend moving forward? Just briefly, as we wind up on that, Barack.
You see, the challenge really is not that we do not have codes or that we do not have regulations. We have regulations, we have codes, we have regulators, we have got watchdogs. But we operate in a country where a majority of office bearers in any one environment go there for purposes of taking bribes, kickbacks, corruption. That is the thing at the bottom. And President Nyerere used to tell Tanzanians, hiki kitu kitawakula, kitawala, na hiki kitu kinatukula sasa. Haya ndiyo matukio ya ufisadi, corruption in the country, a society that is almost incorrigibly corrupt, that you get to that office with your plans, nobody comes to inspect. If you have got the package that they expect, they will stamp your papers, they will sign them off. Those who are supposed to come and visit the site that Mheshimiwa Kirwa is talking about have never been there. They keep on turning a blind eye. And we are just starting to see the signs of these things. We haven't seen anything yet. Martin Shikuku used to say, haya ni manyunyu, mvua bado yaja. So these are warning shots. We have got to wake up to the reality and begin reversing that trend, and the responsibility resides with the government that is in place today. Right. It doesn't matter where we have come from. There is a government in place today. It must draw a line and it must start reversing the trend by first ensuring that corruption in its midst is rooted out completely. But are we seeing a willingness to go in that direction?
You know, when the Bible says that as a person thinks, so are they, or it says as a man thinketh, so is he. When you look at the thinking of the president of this country, we are in the midst of a national crisis, flooding and so on. He is talking about affordable housing, social health, and employment. in the midst of this on May Day. That's what he's thinking about. So that he is not giving you a holistic appreciation of every Kenyan and their lives. Because what is affordable housing to a fellow who is dying, to an economy that is being swept, acres of land that were on crop going? So that we should be shifting our mind to disaster management and mitigation. So that we say, first, let's hold back catastrophe, save lives, and then deal. But if you look at it now, we are in a system that is running. We are busy now doing elections for some party and some parties. You would think life is so normal. Nothing stops, nothing worries us to the point at which we can stop and say, okay, now let us reprioritize. So I hear where Baraka is coming from. And the codes are not the issue. Building codes is not an issue. Indeed, I hear where Mheshimiwa Kirwa is coming from. There's no problem in us going to build a home inside the home of water, because this guy of Tanzania said that there's water, there's no problem. It's simply going back to his home. There's no problem. The only issue is that if that is the only choice, or if that is the choice we want to have, then what do we do to manage to create a way in which we coexist between ourselves and water? And there's nothing wrong with that. When you go to a small country like the UK, you don't hear about storm water. You don't. Because long time ago, they anticipated it and they dug down tunnels and they have dammed the water. And so you don't get a crisis. So we know that when we get a lot of water, it affects our livestock, it affects our lives. What do we do about it? We create an authority, and that's the end of it. We know we have poverty. What do we do about it? We create Poverty Eradication Commission, and that's the end of it. And then what do you know? We have corruption. So what do? We say we have created an ethics and corruption commission. So our compliance and our responsibilities in creating institutions and authorities, whether we give them money or not, is our story. Whether we demand of them and therefore also facilitate them to be effective is another story. So basically, we are what we are.
Right. We have a 5, or that was a proposal, I think I think it is in effect right now, that 5% of the annual budget should be reserved towards disaster management. And this is where it should be coming now into play. One authority to you've questioned also is the National Harvesting Authority, but also we've not been seeing the face of a National Disaster Management Authority.
Do we have it?
It's there. There's a drought
There's a National Disaster Management Authority.
Yes.
So why was it not given this money here? I don't know. Is sent to the county and all
authorities and commissions cannot solve a problem the government as a whole.
Well, yeah. I think the bigger part of this, though, which we are not seeing, we are creating a culture where the people will give responsibility. They function as if they are going somewhere else. They don't. They don't work as if they are going to be in this country next year. Okay? They work as if they are living. So now, when you are like that, you are not responsible for anything. And that is universal. So we need to wonder what kind of people are we producing in this country. Because all those authorities you are mentioning about, or if you want to know why they are not working, you just have to look at the kind of people who manage them. Because an institution is the human capital bestowed on it, the kind of people. But the kind of people is the people we are as a country. Whether you become the president or the minister, you begin to work as if you are on Kenya, as if you are not going to be living here. And that is short-termism. And the refusal for us to look at integrity and look at the legacy you want to live as a Kenyan is creating all this confusion.
All right. And of course, also one of the issues that we've been confused about is the fertilizer. But right now, also, the National Assembly is drawing the line as far as impeachment is concerned, where the fate of Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Linturi is in the hands of 11-member select committee of the National Assembly that will decide to send him home or give him another chance. This after the MPs in a dramatic session where chants of Linturi must go filled the floor of Parliament, approved a motion of impeachment with 149 members voting in approval, with only 36 opposed to it. And as KTN Senior Political Affairs reporter Daniel Kariuki now explains, the 11-member committee has 10 days to investigate the allegations and report back to the House.
Mithika Linturi, the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, is a man under siege, literally.
Allow me to hand you over for this live broadcast.
His position as CS is now under threat after the National Assembly voted yes to approve a motion of impeachment against him. The MPs have set up an 11-member committee that will now investigate him and report back to the House on their findings on the fake fertilizer.
Order!
Thursday morning in the National Assembly, chants rented there as debate to approve or oppose motion to impeach Linturi gained momentum.
Order!
Speaker Moses Wetangula forced to intervene momentarily.
Order, honorable members, order! Will you take your seats, members?
Armed with evidence to convince MPs to vote for the motion, Bumula MP Jack Wamboka tabled the motion, accusing the CS of allowing the National Cereals and Produce Board to be used by private entities to sell fake fertilizer to the unsuspecting public.
We have a president with good intention. We have a minister who cannot implement the vision of his appointing authority. Honorable Speaker, this House should find it necessary that we recommend to the president that Mithika Linturi must vacate office.
Kenyans watch your member of parliament and how they vote. Those that vote against this bill are people that must go home. 2027 is coming. You will go home if you vote against this bill.
I remember saying that this is going to go in the records of history as the most incompetent cabinet. And you can already see that some people are protecting, Mr. Speaker, Mithika Linturi and claiming that he was ignorant.
However, a section of legislators, especially those in the ruling coalition Kenya Kwanza, dismissing the allegations claiming Linturi was being used as a sacrificial lamb.
The mover of this motion, as courageous as he thought he was, he has completely failed the House. He has failed to show us the precision with the law that he ought to show in line with the Constitution and the standing orders.
As I oppose this motion, it is simply because many times we have wanted to sacrifice people who are not really victims of what we want to sacrifice them for.
To say this House should allow the Committee on Agriculture to lay a very conclusive report. We have been with the farmers, we have talked to these people, and Mr. Speaker, the truth shall come out.
However, the majority, 149, voted in favor of the motion compared to 36 who were opposed to the motion. 3 members abstained, but a section of the MPs opposed the names of some names contained in the 11-member team.
This is a vote that has a critical threshold. Once we have reached the threshold, it matters not whether you voted or not.
The National Assembly appointed TJ Kajwang, Robert Mbui, Naomi Wako, and Rachel Nyamai as members of the 11-member committee. Others include Samuel Chepkonga, George Gitonga Muragara, Jane Njeri Maina, Kasim Sawa Tandaza, Malulu Injendi, Yusuf Farah, and Catherine Omanyo. The 11 select member committee has until Monday 13th to table their report. If the select committee report finds that the allegations are substantiated, the House will take a vote whether to approve a resolution requiring dismissal of the Cabinet Secretary. Daniel Kariuki, KTN News at the Parliament Buildings, Nairobi.
All right, maybe he's asking himself, is this fire fake or real? This is what Stano has drawn in today's People Dailies. We take a short break right now. Linturi impeachment motion that is ongoing. It has been quite a long-drawn debate in this country as far as fertilizer is concerned. Now they've drawn the line in the sand. Will the committee also make sure he stands or he lives? That's a probing question. We take a short break right now. When we circle back, we shall be looking at this and a raft of other issues as well that has been shaping up the week including that of the appointment of the new CDF as well. We take a short break. You're watching Uongozi Today here on Morning Prime.